There's one right off that bluff. No buzzbait bass. Not a giant fish, but a fun one. There he is right there. That's a typical little Bartlett Lake bass. Buzzbait bass. Folks, today we're at Bartlett Lake and thought I'd pull out the buzzbait a little bit and see how much fun we could have with it first thing this morning in a little while. We might have to get on jigs and things like that to catch some fish, but man, there's nothing more fun than getting up first thing in the morning and just covering some water, whether it be a crankbait, spinnerbait, or a topwater bait. I love watching the topwater. Summertime's a great time. We're towards the end of summer, actually. We're in September, and you know, these fish, typically, I like to try to hit these pointy bluffs like what we're doing, hit the steeper type water, because you know, in the summertime, the water gets real warm. They come up and feed for a little while, then they head back down into some deeper water. And this allows the fish not to move too far off the bank to get into that comfortable depth of water when they're not feeding. So they just move up and down instead of trying to move in and out on flats. So this works really good. We're just gonna hit some of this bluffy stuff with a buzzbait. You know, I'm throwing the black with the chartreuse because as soon as we got here, I had noticed that there's a lot of tiny bluegill along the bank. And I think these fish will move up and try to hit some of these bluegill. I'm not seeing a lot of shad action or anything up on the bank. So, you know, we'll give this a shot a little while, see what happens. Cover some water, do what we should do and hit some of these points. And one thing very important as the sun comes up, you find areas that might have a little bit of shade on them. So if you can find a little bit of shade, that allows them to move in and actually use the shade as an ambush area. So they'll sit in that shade, and if something comes by, they can go out and grab it. So, you know, we're gonna try a little bit of this, see what happens. We may end up having to do some worming here later or some jigging, but we're gonna just play it by ear. We're gonna just go down the bank and see what we can't do here. That was our first fish of the day. Not a giant fish, but maybe we'll get a couple big blow-ups. The one thing the buzzbait is known for is big blow-ups. One thing you'll find out about buzzbaits is it's not just a morning bait. A lot of times you may not get a lot of bites on it first thing in the morning, and in the afternoon they start picking up. So always have it handy this time of year and just pick it up every once in a while and sling it. There he is. Right off that tree right there. Right where them bluegill like to try to get in. He was in there doing that. Man, do you hear that? Don't you come off there. Oh, I knew that was gonna happen. Oh my goodness. Oh, I was fighting him too hard. Little guy. Kind of looks like the morning bite, at least for the buzzbait part of it. For right now, they've kind of shut down on, but one of the reasons I went to this color was to make it look like a little bluegill. You know, the little bluegill are hiding up underneath these little trees, and that's where I've been getting my bites. But I'm throwing this black with a little grub trailer on it. I like the chartreuse. If you ever notice bluegill or perch have that little chartreuse tip to their tail. So I'm just trying to make it look like that. Throwing a 3/8 ounce bait, Persuader buzz bait, 65-pound test braid line. I'm throwing the Taipan buzz bait rod, and I'm telling you, you gotta have a rod that doesn't have a real hard, stiff tip on it. Because if your rod has a real stiff tip on it, then when you go to set the hook, or when the fish comes up and bites it, he's gotta be able to inhale this bait and turn. And so if the rod just doesn't have any bend to it and it's like a pull cue, you'll pull the bait from the fish when you see the blow up and you won't actually get a chance to set the hook. It's hard enough to do it with a buzz bait anyway, unless they're really crashing on it. The other thing is I'm using the Johnny Moore Signature Series reel, and it works out great. All this gear is awesome for buzz baiting. But here's the deal. We're at Bartlett Lake, you know, and it's just like any other day of fishing. You would love to go down. I want to go down this bank and catch as many buzzbait fish as I can and have these blow-ups. It's really a lot of fun. But, you know, you need to go to the fish and see if you can find out what else they might be able to bite. I've been throwing this now for a little while, to be real honest, and you know, I've hit the shade pockets, I've done what I'm supposed to do with it, and it's just not happening. It doesn't mean it won't happen later. Okay, we got a little bit of a full moon going on, so right now that mid-morning bite just is not happening. But we can kind of make some things happen. And I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna set this down. We're gonna go try to find us some wormfish of some sort. You know, you can drop shot them, you can Texas rig them, you can jig them. We might try some of that stuff and just see if we can't get on a little bite here and see if we can't get back on them, and maybe later on they might be hitting the buzzbait. Got him. We got that one. Dragging it right off that point. When all else fails, you just go to worming. When all else fails, you just go to worming. Not a big fish, but we're just dragging it off the point. That fish there bit the old split shot rig, AKA mini Carolina rig. Now here's the deal, folks. I used to throw this rig all the time. A lot of folks get away from it, but I'll tell you what, in the summertime, you can't beat this kind of rig, throwing it off the points and just dragging it off where the fish are. Now, these fish are hanging out a little bit deeper off these points, but real quickly how I rig this rig, it's crazy. I've caught a lot of fish. Used to be my go-to technique all the time before drop shot was even thought of. But what we would do is, a lot of guys will just pin a split shot, you know, pinch a split shot on their line. I didn't particularly care for doing that, and I like to feel the direct fish hit the bait. So I use just a little bullet weight. It's a mini Carolina rig, just a little tiny 1/8 ounce bullet weight, and then I'm using a little plastic bead so we get some noise like a crawdad down there. Find, you know, where you get that noise. Put a swivel on, and then tie on a little bit of a leader. There's an old motor oil worm I love, or lizard. I love that motor oil color because, like I said, we're seeing a lot of bluegill in here. It still offers that green that we're looking for. Motor oil is a great color when you're in clear water. And I'll tell you, this is a great rig. Now, this is 8-pound test line here, and I'm using a 10-pound test main line. So what I'm doing is throwing a little bit lighter line at the end of the bait, but I'm throwing a little bit heavier line on my main rig. And it works out really good. And what I meant by feel direct contact with the fish is when this weight's on the bottom, the line slips through the weight. So when the fish actually hits it, you feel it. A lot of times if the fish are really sensitive and they don't wanna, if they feel anything, any kind of weight, and they're really not taking the bait right, then a lot of times what they'll do is you'll feel the direct contact with it, and the bait will actually slide through the weight, and you actually feel the fish hit it. Got him. Good fish. Good fish. Little buzzbait bass. Oh, don't you come off there. Oh, that's a good one, folks. That's a good one. Look at that, son. That's what I'm talking about, son, right there. Look at the size of that fish. That's a Bartlett Lake skinny bass. Look, he's blind in one eye right there. Blind in one eye, but he still went after that buzzbait and got that buzzbait. I'll tell you what, you know, we've been worming a little bit, doing a little bit of that split shotting, but here's the deal. The wind started picking up a little bit. When that wind starts picking up, I see little bluegill in there. I like to throw a buzzbait. Now I'll swap over. There's shad in this lake. I decided I'll swap over to the white and see if we couldn't get bit on it. He slugged it, folks, just slugged it. Parallel in the bank, on these bluffs again, right by that bush. Man, you find anything with a little bit of wood or tree or something that's defined, like a big boulder or something, you just bring it by there, just reel it slow. That was a good fish. Those are the kind of fish you like to catch here at Bartlett Lake, just by swapping that up a little bit. That's why you really can't give up on this buzzbait bite a lot of times, you know. It's turning more towards noon and you want to be able to catch these fish. I went to the double buzz because that little double buzzer right there from Persuader actually churns the water up a little bit more. And with the little waves that we got, the wind, the breeze. Really have a lot of fun with this bait. He slugged it. See if we can get another one like that, man. I tell you what, you will throw your arm off, but it's worth it, you know, to catch the bigger fish. It really is. You'll get normally get the bigger bites on a buzzbait, so you don't want to pass those up. You know, there's 3 basic colors that I really like. It's white, chartreuse, or black. Mainly white or black. Chartreuse is in there. I'll throw like a chartreuse tail on. But when you go out and get buzzbaits, the color, and I'll tell you what, a lot of times, 2 things can make a big difference for you in these short strikers a lot of times. It's either a color of the bait, they're just not attacking it as well when they do come up to eat it, and you can change the color, or you can just go to a trailer hook. Now, a trailer hook is actually a hook that actually goes on the back of your hook here. It's got a big enough eye to where it extends it. So when you can buy those at Bass Pro Shops, and you can put the trailer hook on there if you're getting the short strikers. A lot of times, even for short strikers, you can put that grub on like I'm talking about too and catch fish. This particular bait is so compact with the double blades, it doesn't bother me, and it's heavy enough in the wind, 1/2 ounce, that I don't have to worry about putting the grub on. And I thought, well, maybe I'll try it without it. And I caught the big fish with it. But more times than not, I do like the grub on there, just for the tail, because they seem to attack it a lot harder. But right now, you know, we're just going down the bank and throwing this little double buzz with the breeze blowing. You have to make a lot of casts. You know, the thing is covering water with a reaction bait like this, you know, you got to start figuring out. They're in the little cuts. You can find them by the bushes, things like that, but they're not going to be at every one. It's hit and miss a lot of times, but you can definitely narrow it down to a pattern if you can figure out if they're by the bushes, if they're by the big boulders that sit out. And you need a good pair of polarized sunglasses to see some of these big boulders that sit out here where you can throw the bait past it and bring it over top of it. The other thing is that really important, if you're going to throw at a target with this, especially if it's out in the water like this boulder is back here, that's in the water, you want to throw past your target and bring it by. Never throw right on the target. It's always best to throw past and bring it by. Left side, right through the middle if you can do that. A lot of times you can't do that with these little bushes, but what I try to do is get it to go by there, make the cast just a little bit by. That wasn't quite as close as I like, but when I get parallel, I can normally throw out there, and you can actually take your rod tip and swing it across. So if I want to make a cast where I don't want to get in the tree, then you can just swing it across and bring it across that way and get it under some of these bushes. And a lot of times those fish are sitting right up in there under the shade. Hey folks, for my tip of the week, I think one thing really important to learn about a buzzbait is, number one, have a fast enough retrieve ratio reel where you don't work yourself to death. But the main thing is, when you're reeling the buzzbait in, it ain't about how fast you reel it in. The slower, the better a lot of times. When you throw it out there, make those blades work for you. And if you can keep that bait on top of the water just enough, keep them blades churning and not reel it so fast, that's a good way to catch a lot of fish on these things. They just come up and blast it. I've seen a lot of people throw them out there, they're not getting bit. And there's days that you can, but more times than not, a fast retrieve isn't really the ticket. You want that slow retrieve, and that really helps you a bunch. And in order to keep that retrieve going, keep that rod tip high and just bring it down as you come. But the slower the better, especially when you're coming by rocks and things. And the other tip is when you come around big boulders, try to click your blades off the boulders. So if you're coming by a rock or something that's in the water, which I don't see here, but if you come by a rock, you want to click those blades right up against the rock, like if you see one outside. And a lot of times ricocheting that bait off the rock will catch you some strikes for sure. They'll come out and blast it. Hey, here's some food for thought. You know, a lot of people always ask me, Johnny, on these buzz baits, what kind of blades do you throw? You know, they make all different kinds. Persuader makes a ton of different kinds of blades, like this double buzzer, the regular single. You've got, look at this, you got ones with clackers on them. Which ones do you really want to use? And look at that, you got ones with the double blade on the side. You know, a lot of times it's all about what the fish want, how active they really are, to be honest with you. But it also has a lot to do with the chop on the water. If it's really calm out, I don't know if I want to go with something that's really loud. you know, unless the fish are deep. You know, if you're fishing summertime and you're having to call fish, let's say at Lake Mead, from the deep water up, you might throw one that's got the clacker on it, like this one here, something that might have a clacker on it. If you want to be a lot more subtle, then throw just the regular single blade, just like that. And you'll be a lot more subtle with that. If you get a little chop on the water like we have here, then you can go with something that's gonna really raise some cane and put some noise and churn up the water really good where they can see it good. That's how I kind of choose what my blade patterns are. And I'll tell you, they all work good. But the thing is sometimes bass want a subtle, and I know it sounds crazy for a reaction bait, want that subtle presentation even with a buzz bait, which means find one that doesn't make much noise. You know, they make them. And so you can get the ones with the plastic blades that don't make much noise. It has more of a bloop, 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 bloop sound instead of that squeaky sound. And then there's times they like that squeak. Then there's times they like that big churn. So you have to play with the blades. Get a couple different kinds to play with, and I'll tell you, you'll find one that works for you. If you're not catching them on one, go to another and see if you can get bit on it. Man, I thought I got bit back there. Oh, whoa, there's one. Just as soon as I said I'd have thought I'd gotten bit back there. I get one. There we go. Come on, buddy. That is funny. I just turned my head. Probably a good thing. You know, he's not a great big one, but a fun one. I just said I came back here, I've made 2 toss, and I'm like, man, you'd think I'd have caught one back here. As soon as I said that, he hits. It always works that way. Well, our day has about ended. Man, it is so hard to put down this buzzbait. Let me tell you, top water is one of my favorite things to throw. And I bet if you asked a lot of other fishermen, if you were going top watering, they'd want to go with you. And I'll tell you, it's probably 90% of bass fishermen's favorite technique. It's gotta be, because it's one of mine for sure. Watching those bass explode on this bait is just unreal. You never know what that next cast might bring you. Today we showed you some Persuader buzz baits. They work great. We've had a lot of fun with them. And Bartlett Lake has a lot to offer. You know, it's a lot of fun to come to this lake. Whether you want a drop shot or throw anything like that during the summer or top water, it seems like you can usually catch a few doing just about everything. But I'll tell you what, this buzz baiting's a lot of fun. Make sure you pick some up and try it. And don't forget that drop shot, or the split shot. It's such a great technique, and it's kind of been thrown under the rug for the drop shot technique. And I'm one of the guys that have done it, I'll tell you. I've done very well with that split shot, and it's something, like I said, that will catch you a lot of fish when you need it. Thanks for joining us on the show. We'll catch you next time. I'm Johnny Johnson.
Now, see, that's what I'm talking about, folks.